Good morning. I'm Jamie Triscritti, and this is Josh Carter, and we're here to talk about all things Clough. So this is an exciting time of our church. We are moving from the summer into the school year. Always an exciting time of the year.
Absolutely.
But you were talking about Romans this past Sunday. If you guys missed it, he took a microscopic view of Romans 1:16, specifically about how we are supposed to be unashamed of the gospel. It was awesome. And I just wanted to know if you could really quickly recap the sermon and then show us kind of where we're going next in Romans.
Absolutely. I think the thing that I really felt led to do this Sunday was just to pick out that one verse and really focus on the one word in the one verse. What does it mean to be ashamed of the gospel? And I think a lot of Christians, they live ashamed of the gospel. They're not talking about Jesus. That's really been our theme throughout the past month and going into the fall, is we're going to talk about him. That this isn't the role of the person who's preaching on Sunday morning, but it's the role of the church throughout all of the week. And it's every single one of us talking about what Jesus has done. And so, one of my favorite quotes that I thought of was Charles Spurgeon, and he says, "Every Christian is either a missionary or an imposter." And it's not that we're all missionaries. We're not all going overseas to do missions. God doesn't call all of us, but it's the really the emphasis that each one of us is supposed to be sharing Jesus, and that is the calling of every single person in Christ. And for some reason, we tend to want to, relegate that to professional Christians, as if there really are any, and or we want to say, well, that's the deacon's job or the Sunday school teacher's job. Those people that have been at it a lot longer. But if you have been saved by Christ, you have a testimony, and you have something to share, so that people can hear what Jesus has done from you. And so in its simplistic form, it's just everybody is supposed to be sharing Christ. And we can't go walking around. We can't afford, the church can't afford, not just our church, but the church as a whole cannot afford to have Christians that are ashamed and walk around like that.
Right.
So that's a little bit of where we have been. Where we are going is we're wrapping up the end of Romans. Chapter 1 anyway, and we're going to be talking about a passage that is kind of a passage that I think a lot of people don't like. It steps on our toes because it talks about our culpability, and just really that we are all culpable for our sin before a holy and just God. And what does that really look like? And the world doesn't want to hear it. And it kind of reminds me of Genesis chapter 3 when Adam says, well, it wasn't really me. It's not my fault. It's the woman's fault. And the woman says, well, it's not really me. It's not my fault. It's, the serpent's fault. And the reality is God says, no, it's your fault that you sinned against me. And you rightly deserve death, but the gospel offers us life through Jesus Christ. And so that's going to be a really great passage to dig into this week.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And I love how you tie in Genesis 3 there. That is powerful stuff. You don't want to miss that. That's Sundays. Our worship starts at 10:45.
Yeah.
Our small groups, our Bible study starts at 9:45 or 9:30. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 9:30.
Mine always starts a little late, I guess.
You got to get the youth there on time, but I think that's the parents' fault. So
I didn't say
got to get them on time.
I didn't say that. One of the best things about this summer that I've really enjoyed, and I know you've enjoyed it, we talked about it before, is actually home groups. And if you've been involved in a home group, you know how great it's been, how awesome it's been. I've been a pretty bad home group member, though. I've missed out a lot of weeks.
You have a few youth camps and things going on, so.
But I love it, and we've really enjoyed it. Can you just walk us through some of the big successes of home groups this summer?
I've talked to a lot of the home group leaders, and they've absolutely loved just getting to know, building the relationships with the people that have been coming to the home groups, and so that's been a win in and of itself. You have multiple people from different generations and different backgrounds just coming together. Which is a little bit different from a Sunday school typically. And so I think it's been really encouraging. There's been different studies that have been going on, and all of those have been really exciting. But for the past 2 weeks, most of our home groups have been involved in a missions project. And so what we've been able to do is take the gospel then from our houses out into the community in some really practical ways. I know that you got to lead a kind of a backyard Bible club
Yeah.
and a pool party at Willowbrook. Had some of our home group leaders help out with that. Got to help out with a police night out. Got to help out with a park fest and just being in our community with the goal of sharing Christ, what he's done for us, and the hope that we have in him has been a lot of fun over the past couple weeks.
Absolutely. And it's so important for us to go into our communities and share Christ. And it's equally as important for our students. I'm gonna plug this in, our students to go into their schools and teachers to go into their schools and be missionaries there. You know, the school year's starting up, and I want to make sure as we close out that we just remember and remind you guys that are watching to pray for our teachers.
Yep.
Pray for our students. You know, they're walking into a world of sin, of darkness, and there are lights in that. And that's a tough place to be. And it reminds me of Matthew 10:16, one of my favorite verses in the Bible, where it says, Jesus says to his disciples, "Behold, I am sending you as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpents." I love that. Shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. It's a really great thing. And I'm excited for the school year to start. You know, this Friday we have a lock-in coming up for the students to kick off our school year. So if you are a youth, I guess grades 7 through 12, yeah, that's right?
Yep.
That's right. You come out, enjoy it. It is all night on Friday night starting at 8 p.m. all the way to Saturday, 8 a.m. So it's going to be a long, exhausting, awesome night of just learning about what Christ has done for us. And that's all we got today, right?
Yeah, I think we kind of ended where we started, and that is, one, get your youth to the lock-in because it's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
And they're going to get exposed to the gospel. But then be praying for our teachers and our students as they become missionaries in the schools, and then go be a missionary yourself.
That's perfect. Well, thank you for joining us.
Have a great week, Cleft Pike.